There we go. Hello.
Hi, why does it say open talk? There we go. Now it says passing. I'm like, what is
Okay, I was
happening
gonna say
here?
what? Oh no, this was scheduled. All right. I love it. Let me do a little screenshot here. I love the stereo
Okay.
app so much. Do we hear any echoes? Are we good?
I think we're good. I don't
Okay.
know. Sometimes I feel like it's
Yay.
just me. I guess maybe that's better. Is that better?
Oh, I'm good. I hear no echo. I just want to make sure you didn't hear echoes.
Okay.
Testing, testing. Good?
I guess so.
Okay.
All right,
We're
let's
back.
see what TPR Loden's doing. We are back with more passing. Sorry, I'm like totally out of it because of this stupid tree pollen.
Those of you allergy sufferers, I really feel for you. I honestly do. Before we start, can we just talk about how excited we are that Stereo is going to be allowing people to have up to 5 hosts, which is our dream come true.
I know it's absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
Like this is what we needed all of our lives.
exactly. And like you said, hopefully it, and like you said this morning, hopefully it will launch before our pending podcast launch date.
It would be really nice to
on
be
the
able
podcast
to.
now.
Yes, but this is the baby podcast, the big podcast.
Right. Yes. Yes.
We launched the baby. It's like a soft launch.
Yes.
That's what they call it, right? It's a soft launch.
A soft launch. Or is it a separate podcast? Does TBR Lowdown officially have 2? The Reading Project and the TBR Lowdown. So many ways we can go. Follow us, folks, on Instagram, TBR Lowdown, so you can stay in the know what's going on with all of our wonderful plans for the podcast, website, all that good stuff. You are always welcome to read with us.
Yes, please. Did we pick our next book so we can get people involved, like thinking? Did we want to do the autobiography of an ex-colored man, or did we want to do Plum Bun?
Good question. Well, you were kind of thinking that the ex-colored man one was kind of essential to this whole topic, so
we could try it. It's older, so I feel like it's probably a good place to start.
Okay.
I feel like the further we can go back into it, the more we can get a perspective on how it's grown as an idea.
Okay. So then that'll be book 2, and then book 3 will be Plum Bun. Okay.
Plum Bun.
We're making. Oh, and it's nice too because the second one is also short. It might be shorter than this.
Yeah.
Where's mine?
Somewhere over here. It's even shorter. I think it's even shorter.
I think you're right.
We just
here it is. Yes.
We live in a world of bookish chaos, so
right. It just makes no sense. Oh yeah, this is like 98 pages.
So we can knock that out kind of in one show, maybe.
Yep. Mm-hmm. For sure.
So if anybody's interested, who cares?
Yeah. I love it. I kind of like to see what people were thinking when they read the book. Is that because I'm nosy?
Yeah. But that's okay. We love you even though you're nosy. We love you. All right.
Okay, so there you have it, folks.
I'm gonna try to share this on Twitch since nobody ever watches us on Twitch.
Well, last time we had one person. I appreciated that person. She was grading papers. I think it was either during our Den Viper show or one of our reading sprints. And she was like, I'm not reading, but I'm going to be in here grading papers. I was like, awesome. So we had one.
Yeah. Yeah. So slowly. I feel like we're infiltrating the gamers and the other people over in Twitch. And it's like,
yeah.
We're a little virus from the inside. Coming to make them read
just
books.
growing. Just growing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, so part two, the re-encounter.
The re-encounter.
So do we need to do a wrap up, or are we just going to dive in?
I think we should just dive in.
Let's just, because we're
Listen,
going to have enough
guys,
to
if
say,
you
right?
missed, oh yeah, if you missed our second episode where we talked about part 1, highly recommend you give it a listen because we went almost 2 hours on part 1.
And we
it
could
was
have gone
a
longer.
conversation. And we could have. We only had to wrap it up because we had another stream like at 4 or 4:30 places to be online, but it was a great conversation. So do yourself a favor and check that one out. So
yeah, we had a good time. We're really I forget how much I liked this book, and then when I start rereading it again, I'm like, oh,
right,
it's just so good. It's just so beautifully
good.
Executed. It's so
It really
good.
is.
Did you do your homework though? Because you were going to read The Great Gatsby.
Yes, I read it on Monday. And I do see what now I've forgotten names. This is why I need books. I can't do audiobooks alone. So Gatsby, yes, there are similarities in him trying to have this whole persona of this very wealthy man trying to get this woman back. And what I loved was that tension between him and Tom. I mean, it was stressing me out, but I like that tension because Tom was like, you're a fake and I know it. I'm going to tell the whole world. And I mean, it was also a very juicy love triangle.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very different stories, but there's like this theme of
wanting to do better, to be more, having that big secret of being this important person that you really aren't, and having to keep it all in line with all these people who may know you from your past. It was a whole lot of, it was very messy.
I just think it's very interesting that these are, they're both like jazz age stories. They're short. They're like, it just, I really feel like if you want to get the full picture of like the American dream, 1920s, read both of these.
Yeah. That's actually a nice companion read. Yeah. I would like to read Gatsby again when I have the book. I don't know, just the audio alone when I can't read along it's harder for me. So I would like to get the book. But I was like, I see what
I've read it
now.
I've read it so many times that I just when I re-listened to the audio for like, I don't know, like the 97th time I was
right.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, but I could clearly see what you were talking about when I was listening to it. Yeah.
So good. You did your homework.
I did my homework. A for me. Okay.
So part 2, chapter 1.
Yeah. Let me open up my notebook.
She doesn't. I will say this. So there's 2 things I noticed in part 2 and part 1. In part 2, she doesn't talk about the weather as much because they're almost all inside. Almost everything is inside. And she doesn't describe Claire a lot the same way she was in the beginning. Claire isn't as much.
But you're right, not as much.
It wasn't until we get to like the dance that we start getting Claire described again with all of her.
Yeah. I underlined all of those words.
Beauty and all of that.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Interesting things to start.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I missed the descriptions about the weather because it just kind of added to the mood. But,
yeah.
You're in the house
there was only one time I think she mentioned something about it being cold. And that was it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's all inside. It's all internal.
Yep. You're so right.
Anyway. So, we have an audio message.
It's Emma. Wonderful. Hi, Emma. Emma is our third party to TBR Lowdown. She is the other co-host. We love her. We're glad you're at the park, Emma. Enjoy being outside.
I just realized I don't think that Twitch can hear this because we don't have our audio synced between them. So that's a good reason to follow us on stereo so you can leave us an audio.
That's right. So those of you who are watching this later, if you put the Stereo app on your phone and join us live on the Stereo app. You can actually send us messages on the Stereo app in real time, and we can play them in real time.
Mhm.
So it's like you're really participating and joining in with the conversation. So
Like a little chit chat.
follow us. Exactly. I like that little feature.
I do too.
Stereo.
Even when it's like some band making sort of weird comments at us.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's
We
community.
It's
community.
All right. So where do we find Irene? She is at home on an October morning,
Yes.
staring at letters from Claire.
Always a letter, right? Always a letter from Claire,
Always a letter.
right? We're always with a letter.
And she doesn't answer her phone calls, so we have another message, by the way. Hitting us up with the messages.
We don't know, but thanks. Okay. So, okay. So we're back. That threw me off a little bit.
I definitely have a neck and shoulders.
Well, here's a neck. Here's a shoulder. Oh yeah, they can't see us. That's crazy.
They can't see us. They could just see our heads.
That's
but they
funny.
can see us on Twitch.
Yeah.
We're all thrown off by the...
Yeah, it's kind of fun. But yes, we're back. We're back with Irene with a letter from Claire.
With a letter from Claire. And I'm getting distracted by the things. Anyway, so she is thinking back over the meeting with Claire, the last time she saw Claire, with the whole John Bellew, her husband, the wonderful John Bellew.
Right. The unforgettable John Bellew.
He is a one in a million, and
he's a real treat.
He's a gem. And so, but you can tell the amount and the power of that trauma of that visit, because she's still shaking.
Yes.
She still has fear and panic, and it's surprising even to her that she holds on to that fear and that panic from that encounter. And I think it shows how important those like words really are. Because what really happened in that? Did he actually do anything to her physically? No.
Right. No.
But what did he do?
We have two more. Should I play them now or later?
Yeah, just get it over with. This is gonna keep whatever you want to do.
Okay.
How can I take you on a date, ladies, if you've only got an air? Not gonna look good, is it, at the restaurant?
I love his accent. Can I say that? It's great. Thanks, X-Ray. Okay.
Promise you, I can still eat, even just with the head. Anyway. Back to the serious parts of the day. Anyway, so John Bellew doesn't physically do anything to her, right? He comes in,
right,
and he's not even intending to do anything to her with his words, because he has no clue that he just thinks she's another white friend of his wife.
Exactly.
But those words are incredibly powerful, and the fear that comes from knowing that somebody feels that much hatred towards you,
right?
Whether they actually do anything or not. Mm-hmm.
And knowing that if he did know, how dangerous it can be. You know what else I was thinking was, all of what we're saying is, I'm sure, true. But also, I kind of felt like maybe Irene subconsciously has a fear for Claire's life.
She might.
You know what I mean? They may not be, bosom buddies, the best of friends, but I mean, she's a friend. And this is an incredibly dangerous situation for her to be in. What if he finds out?
And I think whenever you have a friend, right, you have friends, you have a social network of people, acquaintances, whatever. If you saw even your least friendly friend in your friend group, the one you're least friends with, you'd still fear for them if they were in a dangerous situation.
Exactly.
That doesn't, and And she definitely is holding on to that fear. Like,
yeah. It's kind of indicative to that time for sure, but also I know her and Claire have this like love-hate kind of a thing going on, but like there's still something there where she has a great concern for Claire. Perhaps it's just a great deal of empathy, maybe a little bit of pity. There's something else there where she's looking at her situation and is really afraid for what could possibly happen to Claire and oh yeah, Claire's daughter.
yeah. Irene is very concerned about Claire's daughter, way more than
Yeah.
Claire is.
I have a
Way
note
more
about
than
that.
Claire
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. For sure.
Because I mean, what would the daughter even do? The daughter has no. We'll get to those comments later where she talks
Right.
about. But the daughter is 12 years old, I think she says later. So
Completely
the daughter,
oblivious to it all.
and she has no idea. So it's life isn't just about Claire anymore.
Right. Although Claire acts like it is, though. She acts like
Claire
it's
has
just
no
her.
idea. Yeah.
Do you think it's because, yes, Claire is selfish, but do you think it's also because her kids like kind of like out of sight, out of mind? She's at this other like boarding school, where in Switzerland or somewhere, so she's not like in her face every day? Or is it just that Claire is just so incredibly selfish that she doesn't even have a general concern for her own child?
I think it's probably a bit of both. Because why is she in boarding school? That's not a very American thing, is it?
Right.
But I don't know. Like, was that normal for women to be sent off to boarding school in America? I know if you were British, I mean, that would be totally normal. Like, why are you hanging around here? Get out of here.
I don't know. Is that a thing in the 20s that was happening that we don't know about with white families?
Yeah. I mean, she's definitely
white
selfish.
American families. Yeah.
She's definitely selfish. I mean, there's nothing that I could say to take away the fact that Claire's selfish.
Look up the word in the dictionary and there's Claire's face. As beautiful as it is.
It's a selfish face.
Yeah.
But no, Claire only cares about Claire. And it's clear.
I gotta tell you, this part 2, her selfishness really just kind of like got under my skin. I mean, I was very much annoyed with Claire for the most part 2.
I feel like I was annoyed with her, but also I feel like you could see her spiraling by the end. Like there's something happening with her psychologically where she is almost breaking because she starts to take more and more risks. You know, like we know that she likes to flirt with danger, but she's almost too comfortable in her ability to pull all of this off. So she starts to take greater and greater risks, and you could see the repercussions of it when we get to part 3.
Yeah, it's like she was in sabotage mode. We have another message from Emma.
Oh, from Emma. Okay, good. That's true. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe it is a normal part of like upper class society in America in the 20s to send your kids off. So then is she just selfish? So maybe she's just selfish. And her child being
not good.
No. and with her child being out of sight and out of mind, then that just adds to her selfishness, her ability to be selfish, because she almost doesn't have to care about her daughter because her daughter's somewhere else in the care of other people. She's safe in her little world.
Yeah. And here's where that's bad for Claire. She has nothing to keep her grounded. You know, she's
I don't know. Did she ever
able to play fast and loose with her life choices, you know, but like normally when you have a kid, your kid's at home, and that's something that grounds you to be a little bit more responsible and to make better choices. But she doesn't have anything to like keep her on a solid ground. She's just able to just do whatever.
But did she ever? Because it seems like her entire history is just doing whatever Claire likes. Like as soon as her dad dies and she gets agency over herself. She's like, I'm
That's
gonna do
true.
this. She
That's
she
true.
she suffers through her aunties, and then as soon as she can fly, she's out of there.
Yeah. Right. As soon as she saw the opportunity to marry this man that was most definitely going to give her a better life, she took it
Mm-hmm.
and ran with it.
And she
Yeah.
literally runs away with him. So it's not even like
Runs away.
they had a court. Like, no, she's just like, yep, you're my ticket out of here. Let's go.
Let's go.
It's like she's catching trains.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I know this was in part 1, but it was also kind of funny how, like the family was in on the secret of her being half black, and they all just kept it to themselves, and it's almost like maybe it was partially they didn't want the embarrassment of having a half breed as a niece, but also maybe, the queer aunts wanted her to have a better chance at life. And so keeping that secret kind of benefited everybody.
I mean, yeah, it would definitely, that makes sense. But I mean, the aunts wouldn't want it to get out that what was the phrase they used? Like the painted with a tar brush or something
Right.
horrendous like that.
Yeah.
She doesn't they don't want anybody to know about that taint, right?
We'll have no more talk on the South Side. No more of that.
So they're definitely going to keep that secret. And if they're acknowledging her as the niece and not just being like, here's my maid, like she's going to grow up almost thinking she's white. And she knows she's not, but she's going to grow up behaving like she's white, which I think she does talk about in part 1, where it was easy for her, or is easier for her to pass so fully because she is so, I guess, entrenched in white culture because of being with the aunts. And I think there's some of that also comes up again, but in the reverse later in this part with Irene, when she's talking to Wentworth about how it would be, it's easier for us to pass as you than it is for you to pass as us. And
wasn't that a good piece there? I love that piece.
And it's about understanding culture, it's and actually you see it now because now you have a group of white people that are getting very upset when you call out their racism or when you call them out for ever being wrong on anything. And it's the jarring to realize that you might actually be everything that you've ever thought is wrong or different or not the way that you were thinking it is. And so of course it's going to be really hard for most white people, especially in 1920, to be like, I'm going to pass for black because you have no idea what it means to be black. But a black person can understand the privileges of being white and the way white culture is working because you've been living underneath it for so long.
Yes,
that you can make a study of white culture and pass as white easier than the white person can for black.
Yep.
This book is so good.
It's so good. It touches on so many things.
It's like 100 years old, and we're like, this book is so good.
It's so old.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, yeah.
Anyway,
so that's page 1. That's page 1. Oh my God.
Minutes later.
Because, I mean, she really went for it on page 1 for part 2, and that was pretty intense to have Irene still hold on to all of those feelings from that, terrible experience with Mr. Bellew.
Before we move from page 1, I just wanted one of my favorite quotes about Claire on page 1 of part 2 is the trouble with Claire was not only that she wanted to have her cake and eat it too, but that she wanted to nibble at the cakes of other folk as well.
Yes,
that is Claire in a nutshell.
Spot on. God, if Nella Larsen were alive today,
we would be like, sign all of our books.
Sign all of our books. Eat tea and eat cake with us. Drink tea with us. Just all the things. Yeah, that was a really good line.
I'd want her to be my nurse manager. It's
all those things.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So we move into Irene kind of talking about what's in Claire's letter. And one of the things Irene says is, it says, Irene Redfield found it hard to sympathize with this new tenderness, this avowed yearning for Claire's of Claire's for my own people. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
whatever Claire is selling, Irene is not buying it. I
Mm-hmm.
think I think that I think Irene has always known who Claire is to a certain extent, but that stunt Claire pulled in part one with that whole circus of, you must meet, Mr. Bellew, that whole thing, I think that really gave Irene like super clear insight as to how dangerous and how irresponsible Claire is,
Oh yeah.
and how much of an actress she is, and how she plays up to those moments and fully enjoys them.
Oh yeah. She was having a gay old time with that tea. That was like, yeah, no.
Yeah,
She enjoyed the show. She wanted to show the girls something.
right,
How good she is at this, how amazing she is.
exactly. Look what
Gain
I've pulled off
sympathy.
with this super racist. And so when
I'm so
Claire
good
and
at this.
right, and so with Claire and this new letter is asking to, I guess, reconnect with Irene. Irene isn't surprised by that
Mm-hmm.
because Claire doesn't think she did anything wrong. So
No,
of course she'd be asking to see me again. She doesn't think that anything she did was inappropriate,
no,
dangerous,
she didn't. She
disrespectful.
didn't. She doesn't even apologize in that letter at the end of part
Doesn't even
one. She's just
apologize.
like,
Yeah.
anyway.
She's
Yeah.
infuriating. She's one of I guess we've all had or have an infuriating
We've
friend.
all
She's
had a
one of those.
Claire. We've all had
We've
a Claire.
all had a Claire.
Are you a Claire or an Irene?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
but then she's questioning herself, Irene. Why didn't she say anything? Why didn't she do anything when she was in that moment? And I guess that's a very human thing to think, is like, why didn't I stand up for myself? And it takes her a few passages and thoughts to get around to the fact that if she had said anything, she would have also betrayed Claire, which would have condemned Claire.
Right.
Because even just associating with Black people
Oh, yeah.
was
Oh,
enough to raise eyebrows.
For sure. For sure.
Unless you were part of the groups of people who just like to go up to Harlem and,
Right. Like, what
hang
were
out.
those people? Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's entertainment. That's different, but not like to hang
Right.
out and have friends.
Right. Because then that calls into question, well, why are you so friendly with them?
Mm-hmm.
Are you hiding something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to me, here's the crazy part about that whole thing where Irene's talking about, asking herself, why didn't she speak up? And she's like, I know the answer. I'm loyal to Claire, and I'm loyal to the Black race. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, you are helping Claire to keep this secret about you being Black, passing for white, from Claire's white husband, and you're doing it because you're bound by your race, but yet it's the very thing you're trying to hide. It's just so effed up all the way around.
Oh yeah.
I
think it's you understand why Claire starts to spiral out of control psychologically, because she's just living this crazy lie where she wants to, she can't be who she is. And I don't even know if she truly understands who she is, but she can't be who she is, and she can't explore who she might be because she has this secret. But there's a longing to connect with a piece of yourself that you can't do, because if you do that, then it's going to break down this thing, and then all of your safety in the world is gone.
But let's talk about that, because Irene doesn't really think she has a longing or any care in the world about Black people at all.
I think Claire only cares about Claire.
Right. So that's, and what I did when I was reading part two, I kept reminding myself like that. No, let's not talk about the fact that this is coming from Irene's
It's all coming from Irene.
only. I had to keep reminding myself that. So, but still, and I did question, does Claire really have this longing to be with her people? Or is what Irene is saying, is that really what's going on? I still don't have the answer for myself. I'm not sure.
I don't think there'll ever be an answer. I think that, Claire, out of Claire's mouth, she says that she has a loneliness, and she says that she wants to reconnect. But through Irene, you get the sense that Claire is just selfish and she must have some other thing that she's looking for. So it's like tainted, like going through the prism of Irene. So you don't feel comfortable saying this is how Claire feels.
It's true, because Irene, one, does not really agree with the decision to pass. She doesn't agree with it. That's number one. Number two, she just finds it like, why don't you just be yourself? So because Claire's choosing to be other, it's like, this is a choice you're making. You don't have to live this life where you're passing. You could just be your Black self and be with Black people and not have to worry about having this big secret that could just ruin everything. These are your choices.
Yeah.
And it's almost like maybe Irene finds it a tad bit hard to have empathy for Claire in this situation, because it's not like this is being forced upon her. She chose to leave the Black race. She chose it.
And Irene only passes for convenience, right? So she can say to herself that what she does is very different than what Claire does. I mean, it is very different. She's not, she hasn't had children with anybody. She hasn't lied to anybody on like a large scale. She just sometimes has tea. Like she'll take a cab. Maybe she'll go to a store, you know, like it makes her life a little easier day to day, but her overall life is not living a lie.
Exactly.
But everything Claire does is a lie.
A whole lie. Did I have any other notes on that? Yeah. Oh, we really get into the psyche of both of these ladies in part 2.
I mean, she says Claire Kendry cared nothing for the race. She only belonged to it.
Right. When I read that the second time, it like gut punched me even harder. I was like, ooh, that line does not get any softer.
No.
Like it does not get any softer.
But it's still Irene's perspective on what Claire's doing. So inside of Claire, because we never get to see Claire. We don't have third person omniscient. We have Irene. So we never get to see what Claire's really feeling. So maybe Claire really does have a desire to reconnect and is reaching out and doing all these phone calls and writing all these letters and doing all of this. Because she really wants to do something, but we don't know. Because we only have Irene's word, and Irene has Irene's perspective on everything.
I know. We'll get to this part, but there's something I realized this second read that I did not realize during the first read about Irene. I was like, that's interesting, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it. It's just very interesting. I almost want to
incredibly interesting.
I want a book from Claire's perspective.
Don't
you want to know what was going on in her mind? Like,
I
how
do.
Did she perceive these situations? How did she perceive this re-encountering with Irene, and like what was going through her mind when her dad died? What was she thinking? What was she feeling? Like all those things. I just want to know.
Well, I guess the vanishing half is a little bit of Claire. Because we have different perspectives in that, right? I'm trying to
we do
catalog back in my brain to that specific book. And I feel like Britt Bennett does give us a little bit more insight into what it would be like to be Claire.
Perhaps.
But it would be an interesting exercise to have somebody rewrite the story from Claire's perspective. Hey, Britt Bennett, what you doing? What you doing? Got anything going on this weekend? You want to write us a story?
Yeah. Can I also say, I think the name Claire Kendry is perfection, because even when I hear the name, for some reason, I'm just like, oh, that bitch.
It sounds like a nasty, blonde, white bitch from a country club, doesn't it? She should be wearing tennis whites and judging you. That's Claire Kendry.
Yeah, because every time I hear the name, read the name, say the name, like my nose kind of, it flares a little bit. Oh, Claire Kendry. Here comes Claire Kendry.
She would have been one of those perfect girls from high school that I hated.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Are all now married to like rich men wearing vineyard vines. Like
right. instead of the country club, taking her tennis lessons.
It's also part of me. Maybe I am Irene. Maybe I'm an Irene. There's part of me that's a little jealous that I didn't make those choices in life. It could be. I might be miserable, but I still have gym and money.
So true. And that cute tennis instructor. So true. Oh my God.
There's always a pool boy.
Always. Yeah. So that I just felt like that was the perfect name. I was like, wow, she nailed that one.
I mean, why do I feel like I'm going to grow up into one of those really lecherous old ladies? Just in case there's 20-year-old men around. Oh, honey.
You dropped something.
Pick it up for me. Throwing things.
Oh, watch out, kittens. Oh,
that's all right. You're going to be looking out the window. Keep spying for me.
I am.
You're
That's what
like,
I do.
What's up?
Right in my chair looking out the window.
There's a hot one coming down the street. Quick.
Heads up. Heads up. We're ridiculous.
That was
okay.
I don't think Nella Larsen thought this is where this was going. Okay.
Wow. Is anybody else hot? No.
I am.
Oh boy.
Think about all those young pool boys.
I tell you. See, this book spurs so many conversations.
It does. We never even knew we could have this one. Anyway, oh God. Okay, so what I think is interesting is we finally meet. I'm going to get us back on track here.
Okay, thank you.
We finally meet Brian, right? After all of this ruminating, we finally meet Brian, and I think my favorite part about meeting Brian is that Brian Redfield had come into the room in that noiseless way in which, in spite of the years of their life together, still had the power to disconcert her. He stood looking down on her with that amused smile of his. I feel like it's fantastic that the first time we meet him, he's looking down on Irene, because he is forever looking down on Irene and everything that she has made him do.
Yes.
He is so bitter. He is the bitter midlife crisis husband who hates everything that he's done. He hates that he's stuck doing it because he's married with children and he can't go do what would make him happy in his brain. And that is Brian in a nutshell.
Yep. It is. It is. And I don't like him.
And you get all of that in 2 sentences. You don't need to read anything more. He's just gonna, he's awful.
Yeah, he's awful. I do not like him.
I don't like him.
I do not like him. Yeah. And we'll get into it. We're getting there. I have a few notes on him and their marriage, and
I have a tiny amount of empathy for him because I understand why he wants to leave America so badly.
I do too.
And why he wants to go somewhere else. Right. And how that makes him feel trapped because he doesn't want to be. Because it's not that he wants to abandon his wife and children.
Right.
He doesn't want to live in America. He does not enjoy his life here. He feels like he has a better chance as a Black man in Brazil.
Correct.
And he wants to bring his family there because he wants to give them something better.
Correct.
What he gets
I understand
here.
It wholeheartedly.
And that I have the tiniest bit of empathy for him just on that line. But then everything he does with that feeling, I do not like.
Right.
Because his intentions, I feel like, are actually good. Like he wants something better for him and his family.
Agreed.
But he is a dick about going about it.
He really is. It's just like passive aggressiveness from him all the time. And it's a bit much.
But she's passive aggressive right back at him. So like this is a marriage that is not working.
No.
And nobody's communicating appropriately with each other.
No. So we see here, even when you look like you've got it all on the outside, you don't know what's really going on with the inner workings of someone's marriage.
No.
Because they are not a married couple that's still in love.
Nope.
That's not what's going on. So we'll get to it. I know I'm jumping ahead. I mean, let me reel it back a little bit. Okay.
You reel us back. I took us down a path. Take us back.
Okay. What page are we on? 182 for me. Okay.
I have no
But
idea what page we're on.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I'm trying to align my notes with this part here. Oh no, I'm sorry. Okay, that's going forward. Sorry, I'm still going ahead. Let me come back. Okay, yeah. So we meet Brian. Okay, so wait, I'm still lost. Hang on.
I can't help you because we have different books.
Okay. I know. Okay, so now we get to where, okay, so he's come into the room, and at some point, Irene hands over the letter that Claire sent to him so he can read it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I was like, okay, Brian, I know that Irene is always late, but must you just harp on it? Like, she's got to give him this letter, not because she really wanted him to read it, but she was trying to distract him from noticing that she wasn't ready. I'm like, this is what we have to do in this marriage. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that just annoyed me a little bit.
But those are the things, like, think about, like, we both have bad marriages.
Yeah.
Think about the things that come up that like the people would harp, like your ex-partner would harp on. You're like,
right.
This is what we're gonna have a 5-hour fight about? Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't put the dishes in the dishwasher. Like,
right.
You could have done it. Like,
exactly. I'm sorry I'm not ready yet, but like, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, he's that kind of jackhole. So, okay. Yeah. So he's reading the letter, and they get into this conversation about people that they've known that have passed before. I found that little passage about when they were talking about Albert Hammond pretty interesting. That's why I had to look in the back for this word they use, shine. Let me read it. So they're talking about Claire and her decision to pass, and how they're both not interested in, or not interested, but how they both kind of disagree with the idea of passing. Mm-hmm. Although it may seem on the surface that although they don't like it, they somehow or seem to accept it, but they don't really agree with it, and they would not do it. They would not choose that for themselves. And so they're talking about this whole thing about passing, and then Brian interrupts and says, it's always that way. Never known it to fail. Remember Albert Hammond, how he used to be forever haunting 7th Avenue and Lennox Avenue and the dancing places, until some shine took a shot at him for casting an eye towards his Sheba. They always come back. I've seen it happen time and time again. I had to look up both those things, shine and Sheba, because I didn't know what they were. So shine, generally an offensive term for a Negro. Mm-hmm. Sheba, a beautiful, often flirtatious young woman. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be Claire? Is Claire a Sheba?
Yeah, I guess she is. But...
yeah, she'd be a Sheba.
She'd be a Sheba.
Yeah.
And it does feel like that Brian and Irene are that, like, Joan Cleaver and whoever Mr. Cleaver is. Like, they are the buttoned up perfection. Right. He's a doctor. She does these charitable works. They have their two sons, which is like, amazing. They're they are what a role model, I guess, for their little society, like in their community.
The ideal family.
There we go. That's the words I'm looking for.
All that's missing is the dog.
Would they have dogs? Anyway.
Yeah.
But so it's like it's easy for them to look down on people who don't make the same decisions as they do, right? Because they're not the right decisions. So of course Brian's going to look down on Claire. But then again, as we see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Uh-huh.
But Brian has his own thoughts on Claire. But
right.
I don't know, it's like you gotta keep it up. We gotta keep up the appearances of everything being perfect and great.
Absolutely.
But there is this. I thought it was interesting. One, that there was this talk about how common it is for people to be passing and how it never ends well. But then also how later when they're at the dance, there's another conversation about passing with Wentworth, where it's almost like from the white perspective, they know that people pass. The problem is not that people pass. The problem is if people find out.
Yes.
So it's so common on both sides, and they each have their own thoughts on it. And it's like nobody truly agrees with it.
Right.
But it's there.
People that are actually
and they
passing.
accept it. Yeah.
Right.
It's like a thing that we accept. Like we accept taxes. We accept passing.
Right.
Like it's here, no one likes it.
Right.
We're doing it.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting that Brian sort of starts to scold her, like, the page before about the incident with John. And how, like, and she's like, I'm not an idiot. If someone calls me those names, like, I'm not going to go back and see them. I'm not going to be friends with them. I'm not, Brian, why do you think I'm an idiot? So you get this idea of how little Brian thinks of Irene's own intelligence.
Exactly. And her ability to have good judgment in these kinds of situations. As if she's incapable of doing so.
Yeah. She's incapable of this. He is very annoying. I'm really not such an idiot.
You know what? And at the same time as Brian and Irene are having this whole conversation about people who pass and how it doesn't end well, and it's just not for me. In those moments, they are both sitting up on their high horses, looking down at people. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just like, you guys are a very odd pair.
They are a very odd pair.
Very odd. They definitely feeling like they're more superior. I got a lot of that from their whole conversation. It's like, yes, he belittles Irene, but like you two together, you belittle other people.
Other people. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, these folks. Huh. Okay, where are we going now?
Anyway. Yeah, I liked his very biological understanding of passing, the instinct of the race to survive and expand. Like Brian is just very cold, and he'd say there isn't feeling. It's not about feeling. It's about nope. We're just surviving. And he's not looking any deeper into it. But then when you have Irene and Claire together talking about passing, those conversations get more into well, what about your daughter? What about this? What about that? It's a lot more, actual personal impact, not some we're writing some essay on.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah.
Right. He's just like, on a human level, it's the instinct of race to survive.
We do this. Everybody does it.
Right.
I don't know. We turned him into some like Joe Schmo from the Bronx, but we did.
I know. What accents are we using? What's happening?
Oh,
I don't know.
Sorry, Brian.
We don't like you, but sorry. Yeah, so that was all.
Accents aren't our thing.
They are not. They are not. I try, but they are not.
I also think it's interesting that Brian goes off on how much he hates sick people as a doctor. You're like, man, you hate everything about your life, huh?
Didn't that just make you cringe a little bit? It was like,
I was like, hello, midlife crisis. I literally have down here after talking about all that, midlife crisis. Because if it was now, he'd be buying a Corvette, he'd get a blonde wife or a girlfriend. He'd be like spending a bunch of money. I don't know. He'd be doing something crazy. Suddenly he'd be really fit.
Yep.
What are you doing?
That gym membership needs to be reactivated. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And actually used.
For sure. Yeah, that part was so cringy to me. I was like, I am uncomfortable right now. Just like you help people, but this is how you think. It was kind of gross. It was
But then you watch Irene, she starts to be like, oh, maybe I was wrong about Brian. Maybe, and then quickly her brain goes, nope, I'm in denial. No, everything's fine. Everything's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. He'll be fine.
Yeah. This is where,
but there's a hint of the dissolution of their marriage.
Yeah.
Like this is a big issue that she is like bandaging over and kind of ignoring. Like this isn't a little thing. This isn't like he's unsatisfied, but he'll deal with it. He is not happy. It is clear he
No.
is like 1 foot out the door. He is not happy. He is miserable.
Yeah.
And Irene is just in denial, 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 denial.
But this is where the first time reading it, where I was like, oh, because remember in part 1 where I made that first note about that first mention about Brian with him, like always wanting things he can't have or something like that. And I was like, what does that mean? And so when we got to this part, I was like, oh, okay, so he had a desire for his family to build a life somewhere else, and Irene was like, no,
Nope.
and he's pissed about it. And that has been like a big roadblock in their marriage, even right now. So that's when I was like, okay, so that's where that's coming from.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's never been addressed, really. It's just been like she's been pulling strings and he's been going along for the ride because neither one of them communicates appropriately with each other. And now he's woken up and he's like miserable. And there's no, he's trapped. She's trapped, and it's just awful. This is why we need to communicate.
Exactly. It
Life
sounds
lessons.
like, because Irene is also upset. She's like, she feels like by her telling him, no, we can't move, and encouraging him to get his profession started here, she feels like what she recommended they do has worked out well for the family. So she feels like, well, it isn't fair that he still hold this over my head. Like, no, what I said, my decisions for us as a family, it was correct. Everything's working out just fine. He's doing well in his profession. We've got this family. I've got my social life. Everything's fine. It's not fair that he should just be angry at me. But there's so much fear with her because she knows that he is not happy and that he still desires for them to be in Brazil. And I guess she feels at any moment that ground can just sink, just fall right in.
Because I think she knows how important it is, but she doesn't want to acknowledge how important it is to him. Because acknowledging that it's important to him means that she has to acknowledge the fact that maybe her decisions weren't exactly right. And she doesn't, I mean, she's mad, but she's repressing it the whole time. And she won't talk to him about how mad she is. And we know he's mad. And he's not talking to her about it. And I'm sure there were conversations years ago that it's like, well, we're not going to talk about it anymore. And they're both so stuck up and care so much about their situation that I highly doubt that they would get divorced, right? So he could get divorced, but like, would they get divorced? Would they get divorced? No. She's like, no, we can't do that. That would be horrible.
Yeah. Because it says here, where's that part?
She wants him to be happy, but only the way she wants him to be happy. She doesn't want him to be happy just by the things that he wants. It has to be something that's through her like edict.
For sure. But I think, I don't know where that was, where they were having this big argument about it. And I guess she must have threatened that they would no longer be married. And then that was that. That was the end of that. And they never talked about it going forward. So, I mean, obviously he didn't want to lose his wife and his family, but I mean, it has built up such a tension in their marriage. Now everybody's walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
Especially Irene.
And it's the 20s. I mean, divorce was not common. We have to remember how trapped you were in a marriage. If your marriage wasn't good, you had to kind of make it work or just be miserable. You only had those options. I mean, you could get divorced, but it wasn't easy, especially for the woman. I mean, Irene probably would have ended up.
What would you do?
With nothing. You wouldn't do anything. And oftentimes you had your children taken away from you. I don't know when they turned that around, but for a really long time, the man would take your children. Like, we're so used to a world where if you get divorced, in most cases, you know, the children end up with the mother. And it would be an incredibly strange case for the man to end up with the children, especially sole custody. So, and that was not always the case. It was often the case that the women would just have their kids taken from them and they wouldn't have any access to their children.
Exactly.
So, divorce was not a choice that was made lightly.
And let's be honest, you know, Irene kind of hit the jackpot with Brian and with him being in that profession. And it's really allowed them to build a very comfortable life. You know, she's very prominent in her social circles. And look, she doesn't want to give that up either. Like
Nope.
she likes what she has set up for herself. It works for
Yeah.
her. It is very comfortable. She gets to be in the spotlight in a matter of speaking, and she doesn't want that to go away.
No. And you know what? Claire is also a threat to that. Claire puts her
Mm-hmm.
in danger. Just being out, especially in the white world with Claire, puts her in danger.
Yeah,
It's not just Claire.
yeah, that's so true.
And I don't think that Irene really advertises the amount that she passes either. So
No. Mm-mm.
even that being called into, being brought up, I think makes Irene uneasy.
That's a really good point because it is, we know from the beginning of the story that she does pass when convenient. But you're right, we don't know how much she does it. We have no
Yeah.
idea. That's a really good point.
Because
She could be
I mean,
doing
how
it
much
much more
does she
often than
do
we
it?
think.
But she's also, she's big in the community. She's
Yeah.
doing the dance. What is it? The
Yeah.
Negro League or whatever. She's putting
Exactly.
together this dance that helps people, because I guess it's supposed to be modeled after, I looked it up in the back. It's modeled after I think it was like the Afro League, or there was a group that did exist that was for people coming up from rural areas to urban areas to help them find shelter, and basically as an internal community to help the people, the Great Migration, from the south to the north,
Right.
to help them. And she's the National Urban League. That's
I
what it was.
see it. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so it's she's prominent in her own community. So
Right.
would there have been a stigma associated with people knowing how much she passes? I mean, it's one thing to be mistaken and whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
if she's doing it purposefully when it's convenient for her,
right,
would that be taken differently?
Right. Because
We don't know.
Brian
That
makes
doesn't get
mention of
addressed.
that, right? Brian makes mention of the fact that, it can be awfully convenient at times. Like he was speaking of when she had the encounter with Mr. Bellew, and he was like, well, he wasn't really attacking you because he didn't even know you were black. But, you knew what was going on, but he didn't. And, this is pretty convenient, this passing thing at times.
But I think Brian can't pass. So is there a little bit of jealousy in that he can't pass?
Oh, I had not asked myself that question.
Does he want to? I don't know. He might not want to. He doesn't seem like he'd be the kind of person who wants to. But he probably would like to be able to live his life without having to be so judged because he's so dark.
Right.
But then how dark is he? Because they talk about him later in the book, later when they're at the dance, and she finally actually describes how dark he is. He doesn't even sound that dark. Maybe I don't understand descriptions.
I don't know. Yeah.
Because I think she just calls him kind of dark copper or something like that. And in my mind, when you say he's maybe I don't understand the scale of darkness and what is dark. Because I'm thinking like Grace Jones, very and that doesn't sound like what they're describing in the back when they get to that part
too. Yeah. Because she also
where's the
level? Dark. Right.
Where is that line? Where do you go from being acceptable to dark, where we get to talk about it dark,
Here's the other thing. We're talking 1920s.
Yeah.
So I feel pretty confident in saying in the 1920s, dark didn't have to really be that dark in the 1920s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because I ever even wrote it down. I'm reading it. I'm like, wait, how dark is this guy? He doesn't sound dark to me. Why is everybody giving him this hard time?
Right.
It's 2021. And I'm like,
exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. But this is 1920s. And I think probably any hint of melanin is just dark. Yeah.
Because I read it and in my head I was picturing I don't know, kind of Latino.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And I guess that's enough. I guess in 1920, that's enough.
Right. Exactly. But you do bring up an interesting question though. Is he a little jealous? No, but you're right. Is he a little jealous? We don't know. I don't know. Just because he says he doesn't want to, sometimes people, Sometimes people want things they know they can't have, and so instead of acknowledging that, they just hate it. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
But I mean, he can't do anything about the way that he looks. And he
No.
is intelligent and established,
Mm-hmm.
and he has all the other things that would make him a prominent person in white culture. And
Right.
the only thing that's holding him back is the fact that he's black, but not
Yeah.
just that he's black, but that he's black and he can't pass. Like he
Right.
could be even, and is that sort of the drive? Is that part of his drive to go to South America? Like he wants to go to Brazil because his race doesn't matter as much there, right?
Well, yeah, and let's not forget they have
So
two
he can get,
sons.
so he could provide a life where one, his sons don't have to live in a world that they're going to be held back for something that they have no control over.
Right.
Especially the one that isn't
Yeah, there's a dark
light
son.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I still don't understand, like, who made these, I don't know, these rules. I don't
I know.
understand. It's just crazy to me that this is actually not fiction. Like,
right.
that's
Right.
what blows my mind all the time. When I read, like, when you're reading the prophets, when we were reading the prophets, I'm like, this isn't actually fiction. Like, it's fiction, but it's not fiction.
But not really. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's taken from, real experiences, real life, a real time period. So, and now, like, I just want to know how many
reach
people have
into books
passed.
and like strangle people. Yeah, I want to know how many people passed. I want to know how many people didn't say a damn thing.
Right? Yeah. I want to know. There's got to be some kind of nonfiction book that kind of talks about the amount of Black people that were passing during that time. There just has to be.
Well, maybe there weren't as many. Like, it's like this is like, and you don't know, because unless somebody tells you. That's the point that, like, Irene keeps making, and she makes it again in this part. She makes it in part 1. She makes it in part 2. It's like, you would never know.
Right.
For the most part, you would never know unless somebody told you.
Right. So interesting. Just, it feels so scary to me to even think, like, the thought is terrifying to me.
It scares me.
Knowing what someone could do if they found out, and like, it's just, I don't know. It's scary.
But like, we see it like in heightened moments, like people hiding themselves during different kinds of war situations now, and trying to take on different identities to like get out of a horrible position. Like, and that's very like narrowly focused, and like, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but it's like this one blip moment in time, and it's like you can understand it and how scary it is. But it's like extrapolated out over generations, like generations of people finding, like Brian says, the way to survive.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
It's crazy. And like, you just don't know how many people have done it.
You don't know.
I would love to see that nonfiction book. I would love to see a nonfiction book that like interviews a bunch of like grannies.
Yes.
That tell you about their life. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that book may be out there. We got to hit the Googles.
The only thing that I found was that collection of essays that was actually like, it looks like it was a collection from like, that was like used in universities. It's from Duke University Press. I'll send it to you. It's like the fictions of identity or something, or the fictition of, and it's not just about racial identity. It's kind of about all different kinds of things, like women passing for men to go to war, racial passing, all kinds of other passing, and the different essays. I'll send it to you again. It's on our master list. And that was the first nonfiction like collection of stories that I think is the way that we're looking for something that's, I guess, more academic in its approach to it, instead of being a narrative.
Exactly.
That I had found, that I can recall that I have found. And it's definitely interesting. I'll grab it and show you later. But
it's just something else.
Because it's crazy, because like, even in that that book I just read that you haven't read yet. What was it? The White Tears, Brown Scars.
Yes.
That one brief chapter where they talk about passing. There's a paragraph where they talk about how much it was looked down on, I guess. I have to go back and reread it. Something about it being sort of looked down on by the community in the beginning, and then not so much in the end. Like, it evolved into something that became a lot more acceptable for whatever reason, because maybe more people could do it. But it's an interesting chapter. You should definitely read it, because it talks a lot about, that book's actually very good, but it talks a lot about in particular, like, even just like how shades of race change in art or are treated, because I think the author she's like Iranian or something like that. So she's considered, a brown person, but she looks very white. And how it's not just a color thing. It's often a who's having a conflict thing. And it's very nuanced, and it's just a very interesting book, and it has nothing to do with what we're talking about now. But there is that one chapter on passing, and I've just gone down on a train. But it was just a really interesting look at the way races are treated, and in particular, there's a lot of use of talk of how when white people get called out for things, especially white women, there's this immediate, even subconscious retreat to being the victim, because you are always, as the white woman, the victim. And you're like, you are still repressed by the white man, which is true.
Yes.
And which is why I've always I don't understand when I see a bunch of white women being racist assholes. I'm like, how do you not even just the tiniest bit understand? Have you never been discriminated against just for being a woman? Ever? Never? Never. You can't even understand just
one iota. Just one iota.
A little bit to not be an asshole. But that's a different conversation. Yeah. But then also, because white women are the possession of white men, that they also end up being the thing that they protect. They protect their homes, and they protect their money, and they protect all the other stuff. So you sort of internalized victimhood that becomes the crying white woman and the angry black woman, and you pit those two together, and who gets sympathy? Well, it's the crying white woman, right? So it's a really interesting book. It's nothing to do with this, but I guess it does. But it doesn't. That was a random tangent.
It has a chapter on passing, so it's relevant. Yeah,
and it was nonfiction. But it was interesting, because it would be interesting to understand how it's changed too, as something because are there people even still doing it today? And is there a drive to do that today?
Yeah, see, that's the question. Is there a drive to do it? Is there a need to do it? Yeah. That's the question.
Yeah.
Huh. Dare I say, not so much. Also, you'd be pretty bold to do that now with all of the social media and everybody having their lives online. It's so much easier to have your secret exposed. So I think just based on that alone, it's probably not
happening.
But
then how many people just don't know?
Oh, now that number. That number.
Maybe Granny.
Yeah. Yeah. That number's probably pretty high.
Yeah.
So.
Anybody have a granny that is passing and they know about it, let us know.
Yeah.
We want to talk to her.
Or a grandpa.
Or a grandpa.
An old auntie.
Uncle.
Hit us up.
Second cousin.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously.
Next door neighbor.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to think, because the times that we see it now where people pass themselves off as something else, I feel like are in very objectively horrible situations where you're like, yes, I understand why you've done X, Y, and Z to escape this thing. And when you think about this, you're like, this is stuff that was going on for generations.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't look at that. And I think that they, like you see it in the case history, the Office of not the case history, the Office of Historic Corrections.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That like people today there are people that it would blow their mind if they found out that they aren't who they thought they were.
Their whole world. It would fork
find
their
out
whole
who they
world
are.
up.
Who they thought.
Yep. Yeah.
And they wouldn't be able to understand it, I feel like.
No. Ooh, it's got to be a book about that. It's got to be. It's got to be a book where some family found out that they weren't really white. It's got to be.
Well, there's that Growing Up White book where Lacey was telling us about, but I think that was a Black girl growing up in a white family and thinking she was white.
Is it this?
But I'm not looking at you. No. I think it's called Growing Up White.
Oh, okay.
Or something like that. I'm wrong. Waking Up White.
Oh. Waking Up White. Waking Up White.
So I guess she's a teacher. And then she had like all these issues with like race and stuff. Like she couldn't understand certain things. I'm really, really summarizing this here. And then in 2009, one aha moment launched an adventure of discovery and insight that drastically shifted her worldview and upending her life plan. Waking Up White, Irving tells her often cringeworthy story with such openness that readers will turn the. This doesn't help me. What does this mean? This means nothing. This means nothing. Oh, I don't know. I don't think this is what we want.
Okay, yeah, no. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we're looking for stories of people making a conscious decision to pass. Conscious decision.
Yeah. This is a white woman realizing she was white.
Oh. Interesting.
I guess she led a blissfully sheltered upper middle class suburban childhood where she found herself simultaneously intrigued and horrified by the racial divide. Not what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Probably fine and interesting. Not what I was looking for.
Yeah. Not for this reading project. Sorry.
This is not for this. Anyway.
This is not that. No.
Mm-mm. Right. We need to get back on track because I took us down a tangent. We're still in chapter 1.
Oh. Okay,
but we're almost there. We're almost to chapter 2.
We are. Okay, we've gotten through.
Yes, there's that whole weird exchange about like sex with Junior and how she wants to send him to a different school.
This is the part where I have the realization. So remember, we're talking about earlier on how Clara's, playing all these games. And this is where I realized Irene plays games too. Mm-hmm. Irene, and I was like, oh, you little devil. So we just talked about how Brian is still very angry about the decision that they've made to make their life in America because he has that strong desire for them to start their life in Brazil. And there's a line, hang on, because I highlighted it somewhere. Hang on. Okay, so in her moment where she's realizing that his desire has not really waned, it's still there, still very strong. And she says, yes, it would die. As long ago, she had made up her mind that it should. But in the meantime, while it was still living and still had the power to flare up and alarm her, it would have to be baked, smothered, and something offered in its stead. She would have to make some plan, some decision at once. So here she is, being very, very calculating and what can I do to basically distract him from this desire of his to go to Brazil with something else? And this one, she comes up with this grand plan of talking to him about, this very serious situation with Junior and these things he may be learning in terms of, sex and yada, yada. And it kind of backfires on her. But yes, this is the realization that I had. Like, oh, Irene, you play games too, Miss Ma'am. You play a lot of games
she
too.
does.
Yeah. So, and I did not really pick up on that the first time I read this, but the second go around, it was very clear to me. So
yeah,
I just thought that was pretty interesting because she's manipulating and maneuvering this whole situation to get his mind off of Brazil and onto something else. And what better thing would that be than to be on his son?
Oh, yeah. And she's definitely, she's still, I don't think she and Claire are all that different in all the ways. They have similarities.
Right. Oh, yes,
just
they
that
do.
Irene is potentially more agreeable, maybe not agreeable, but like likable.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but
and
she's also the one telling you.
Family.
Yeah, and she's.
That's true.
But I don't think that she thinks there's anything wrong with manipulating her husband to keep him here. So to her, it's not about making her look good or bad. That doesn't make her look good or bad. That's just a fact. Like, that's what you do. You're a wife. You do this so that you can keep your family together.
Yeah, I mean, because she says what it says here, like she had only to direct and guide her man to keep him going in the right direction. Like Irene's definitely pulling all the strings. I mean, she's the puppet master in her marriage. So, but Brian is still very resentful. You know what I mean? And I don't know if her, all this maneuvering she's doing and all these, crazy puppet plans she's making is actually going to help anything. I think it's going to make it worse.
So, do you think that some of the contention between her and Claire is because Claire has the control and Irene doesn't? And Irene is used to having the control?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's about control at all. I don't know. As much as Irene does not agree per se with passing, is she jealous of what may be perceived as to be Claire's freedom? I don't know. I don't know. I have a lot of ifs in my mind. I'm not really sure. But I think they each have something that the other one wants. From Claire's perspective, Irene has a very solid and safe marriage because she's not living this lie. And then there's Claire, who's extraordinarily beautiful. And that definitely grates with Irene. It really gets to her. And she looks at herself to be, what's that word she used? I don't know, like dumpy in comparison to Claire.
She'll be dowdy.
Dowdy, that's it.
Herself dowdy often.
Yeah.
And you're right. Somewhere in here, I did write the words, the grass is always greener. And it might not be in this chapter, it might be somewhere else. There's definitely this feeling that like the thing on the other side is better, especially Claire to Irene, that somehow Irene's life is more stable or desirable than Claire's life, despite all of its lavishness, because it's stable and safe and it's not lonely. It's her. It's like Claire, Irene can be herself and Claire can't.
Exactly. And really the only difference is, even though Irene and Brian have this, contention with one another about this whole moving to Brazil thing, at the end of the day, their marriage is still grounded in some type of truth.
Yes.
Where Claire and Mr. Bellew, it's a complete lie.
Oh, yeah.
From top to bottom, from bottom to top. So at any point, that sucker can just fall down. So there is no security there.
Oh, yeah. Irene knows Brian is miserable. She knows why he's miserable, and she just doesn't care. And Brian knows that Irene knows and that she doesn't care.
Exactly. And they do love each other. There is love there. Yeah. There is love there, but they do resent one another.
Yes.
There's this whole issue of Brazil.
Yep.
It's very interesting.
Very interesting.
These two marriages, looking at them, you know? God, get it together, Claire. Jesus.
How many essays could you write on this book?
Oh.
Chapter 2. We gotta move on to chapter 2.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Here we go. Here we go.
All right. So Claire and Irene's and Brian have gone out, and because she needs to get some stuff done for this dance. So you find out that Irene's working on some dance, and that's chapter 2. Then we get to chapter 2. What happens to chapter 2? So I know that Irene is not responding to Claire, right? And she's mad at Claire that she has to send her response to the general delivery because it's insulting that Claire would think that she wouldn't know that she has to keep her postmark hidden from everybody. She's like, she's not stupid. Just like she told Brian, I'm not an idiot.
I'm not an idiot.
I know.
Yeah.
And then, oh, here we go. Sorry.
You found a part that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah. And then, but she keeps going on. She's talking about how she would never meet again. Like if she just doesn't answer, like they're not going to meet, they're not going to do anything. And she says, they're strangers in their ways and meanings of living, strangers in their desires and ambitions, strangers even in their racial consciousness. Like Irene does not believe that they have anything that makes them in common. Like, so they should never have to meet again. Just never.
Right.
There's nothing that they have in common.
Right.
However. So the boys come home. Right? Do you have anything in this first part?
I don't have anything in this first part. Hang on. No, I don't have anything until 193.
It's really not until Claire just appears, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I did note that you do realize that she has 2 servants.
Right. Fancy.
And she's fancy because she's got Selena, and then later you find out she's got this other lady whose name I can't remember. So there are 2, like they are. Irene is very solid. She is in a nice place. She is in, she's in the upper echelons of her society.
Oh yeah.
And like, so really, like, is she that different than Claire? It sounds like they're almost on the same level. The difference is the racial divide. That if John had been white, they would have been peers.
Right. Exactly. If Brian would have been white, yes.
If Brian had been white, they would have been peers.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The Bellews are a prominent white
family. And they're a prominent black family.
Are a prominent black family. That's right. And if the Redfields were white, you were absolutely right. They would all be in the same circles and they'd be friends and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 So you really like how equal these 2 women really are.
Yeah.
It's just that line of race and the lie of race that is separating them. But I just like that Claire just like shows up.
I didn't like it, Alyssa. I didn't like it.
She just like throws her stuff down and she's like, I'm here.
It made me angry. What were you thinking when you read that part?
I was thinking this bitch.
Yes. Same. I
literally wrote nothing stops Claire Kendry. Like she just comes in, she's like, and but what I really like is that Irene actually goes and pretties herself for Claire. As soon as she hears that it's Miss Bellew, she puts herself together. She doesn't do that for Brian. Brian's coming in, she's like, oh, let me just slap these clothes on and get downstairs.
Exactly.
But for Irene, she's gonna for Claire, she's gonna powder her nose and do all this stuff.
Exactly.
Before Claire just shows up and throws her stuff down.
I called Claire pushy. It's like pushy Claire, pushy. Here we go again with here's what I was kind of picking up, and it feels weird to say, but Claire is very pushy. Here we go again. Claire is just like, okay, you're gonna ignore me. No, I'm gonna show up at your home unannounced. it is such a position of privilege, though, isn't it? It just
Well, she's
really
white.
annoyed me. Exactly. It really annoyed me. It just
She's
grinded
white.
my
She
gears.
wants something, she gets it.
Yeah, because I don't know. I keep reading it as Claire having a, how dare you not acknowledge me? How dare you not respond to my letters? Just the whole how dare you of it. And then Claire is saying, oh no, you will respond to me. Even if I have to show up at your home unannounced, you will respond to me. And you will tell me why you've chosen not to respond to my letter.
Why are you not answering me? What's going on?
Oh, yeah.
Huh? Huh?
The nerve. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was reading this part like, I'm in my room like, oh, Claire. Oh, just the nerve, the audacity.
But like, how mad is Irene really? She got herself prettied up for her.
But
they
not
play a
out
game,
of
the two of them.
But I don't think that's what that is with Irene. Irene, I think there is some kind of a little bit of jealousy with how beautiful Claire is and how Irene looks at herself. She can't allow Claire to see her looking undone. No, not this beautiful statuesque woman. I have to pull it together. I have to pull it together. She's not Brian. She's Claire Kendry. She has to pull it together.
She's Claire Kendry.
She's Claire Kendry.
I feel like we need Claire Kendry gear.
Please, somebody.
We need to make
we should just make
Claire
it.
Kendry. We should
just make it.
Like make fancy pajamas and just have it for when you're Claire Kendry.
Yes. Because
that
Claire Kendry is a mood.
You know that like sheer robe that's been going around on YouTube a lot with the the marabou like feather on the edges and it's very dramatic. That's Claire Kendry. That's Claire.
I also need a Claire Kendry caftan. Okay,
and
just
I think I like it
with a kitten with a Claire Kendry kitten heel.
She is a mood and a half.
She is a total mood.
I think that there's somewhere in here where I've maybe it's in part 1 where I've equated her to being like Scarlett O'Hara. She is very dramatic. She's very flirtatious. She likes to flirt with danger, especially like with men.
Oh yeah,
and like she has that vibe.
Yeah.
You're not going to hold her down.
No, you're not. And that's why Irene had to powder her face and get her shit together.
Yeah, she got some bitches coming into my bedroom, just throwing their shit around my bedroom.
Just coming into the bedroom. The nerve. Continue. Damn you, Claire.
Well, I just think it's interesting that like all Claire focuses on is why she's the answer to the letter. There's no interest in like what's going on with Irene. Like could something like Irene could be like dead and maybe that's why she's not answering your letter. You don't care about that. Right. You don't give two flying Fs about Irene. You just want to know why are you not answering me? I'm important. Yeah. Answer me.
Exactly.
I told you I'm important. Look at me. Look how important I am.
I'm telling you, Claire was getting on my last nerve in this whole part 2, just working my whole entire nervous system.
Ugh. Yeah.
Okay, so now, so now they're having a conversation.
I just thought it's interesting that like the one little note I have in here is Irene saying, I can't help thinking that you ought not have come up here. And Irene and Claire responding, do you mean you don't want me, Renee? And I was thinking, is that a double meaning? Is that both? Is that?
Yeah, because I'm still not sure with Claire, right?
Do not want me. Like, you don't want me. Not, you don't want to see me.
Right.
You don't want to be my friend. You don't want to be acquainted with me. No, it's you don't want me.
Right.
Everything's sort of tinged with innuendo with Claire.
It is. Yeah.
I mean, even her looks are too whatever. What did they call her? Her looks are too flirtatious or something like that.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Or maybe she just doesn't know how to like draw the line with her flirtations with people. Maybe she's just flirty with everybody. Maybe she just doesn't know how to turn it off.
She
Or
might
maybe she
not.
just doesn't want to.
Maybe she's found it as a way to get what she wants, and so she keeps doing what gets what she wants, right? So if it works, why would she stop?
Right. She's always in manipulation mode to me. I just think she's always manipulating somebody.
Oh, yeah.
With how she
100%.
says something, with what she says, just all of that. Her body language. Oh, she's like a devil. But I know. But here we go. This is.
But then we go. But then we go back to the whole. We get into the safe conversation about Irene's being like, it's just not safe, Claire. You need to be safe, Claire. And we get Claire's very
flippant response.
Yes. Damn being safe.
Yeah. Almost jokingly. It just, she's something else.
She has no regard for anybody.
None. And honestly, not even for herself, if we're really thinking about it. Not even for herself. Yeah. She's willing to walk the line of danger. She has no self-regard for her own safety. She doesn't care. And
Irene even tells her, she's like, Brian and I have talked about this. There are lots of people who do this. It's very dangerous. You can't come back. You can't come back. Coming back is a dangerous thing. It's really a one-way transaction.
Yeah, and one-way ticket out of blackness.
Yeah. And Claire's like, nope, I'm just so lonely. You can't know how lonely I am. I'm so sorry.
Really wants me to feel sorry for her, and I can't.
Well, there is a piece. This is why I have to remember that Irene's telling us all of this, and there is probably a piece of Claire that feels lonely. It has to be incredibly lonely to never be yourself, and to never allow that piece of you to exist. And you may have made decisions in your late teens, because she probably got married in her late teens, given the time period. That you come to regret when you're in your 30s. If I had to live my entire life based on decisions I made when I was 19, I would have a really interesting and horrible life.
Exactly. And I took a note about that, and I hear what you're saying. And what I noted was Claire may be lonely, but I honestly don't feel it's just because she's made this decision to leave the Black race and pass as white. She has a lonely life, period. Mr. Bellew's always on travel somewhere. Her daughter is in a school in another country. She has a lonely day-to-day life that just, it's beyond her, making the decision.
Beyond the racial parts of it. Her life is just lonely.
Her life is lonely. But this is how she set it up. Again, these are still her choices. So I don't know. I don't know why I'm having a hard time feeling empathy for Claire. But I am.
I don't know if I feel empathy or if it's because I'm a Libra, so I see both sides of everything, and I just can't help but to be like, but actually, there's also this. So I feel like I understand. If she really is lonely, I understand why she would be. And I understand why she would feel a drive to connect with somebody. But that doesn't explain or excuse any of the ways in which she does that. She's still responsible for her own actions and her own assholeness, like her selfishness.
Her own happiness.
She is responsible for being a selfish jerk. Right. And making the decision to do that and to not change her behaviors. But I understand the drive behind maybe wanting to reconnect with something that you feel like you've lost. And would that fill your hole of loneliness? Maybe that's the thing that fills the hole, is the thing that you cut out of your life. And maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's you just need to actually not be a bitch, Claire, and make some friends. But
yeah. Because
why doesn't she have friends?
Right. Yeah. But then again, is she even capable of having just a true, honest, solid friendship without manipulating them, playing some kind of a wacky game? You know what I mean? I'm not sure she's capable of doing so. Also, it seems like Mr. Bellew never wants her to travel with him.
Yeah.
What's that about? Does he have other things going on, or?
in this part, she gets upset because she's going to have to leave soon because she's not going to be able to get out of things. She makes
Right.
reference to that, and it sounds like he wants her to go with her places, but she doesn't want to go with him. So she doesn't go anywhere.
Okay.
And now she's going to have to go to Switzerland or something. And she's upset that she has to go to Switzerland. And I think they talk about this in like chapter 4. And Irene's like, but you're like, your daughter's there. Just freaking go to Switzerland. I think it's Switzerland. And she's like,
Right.
we'll
I think so
see.
too. Yeah.
And
yeah.
so like, I feel like she's not capable of actually having genuine connections with other human beings, but she has the desire to have them with no ability of actually knowing how to. Because every relationship she has seems to be about a transaction. Like it's all transactional and getting something that she needs from the other person.
Yeah, I'm also getting the sense on this second read that Clara may not really know what she wants, or perhaps, she created the situation based on what she wanted then, but something about it did not turn out the way she thought it would, and she's wanting something else, and maybe she can't quite put her finger on it just yet. I just feel like she's a very confused woman. That's what I feel like. She's a very confused woman.
My notes at the very end of this part are that I think she's spiraling. I think you can see that she's breaking a little bit psychologically, because she starts to just, and we'll get through this part, and you start to see her just start to flirt more and more with danger and doing things more that she wouldn't have done in the beginning. So, like, where were we? So she's casting off Brian and Irene's advice that you can't go back.
Right.
She's incredibly lonely.
Exactly.
I mean, Claire's like, how could you know? How could you? You're free. Right. You're happy and safe. I am none of these things.
Yeah.
I know. And she isn't safe, but she's not safe from her own making. And going back to Irene isn't making her any safer. Right. It's just making her more unsafe. So she's not even helping herself.
So true.
And then they talk about being a mother and how being the mother is the cruelest thing in the world, which you tell just how much Claire loves being a mom.
Yeah.
Because she's just shocked. She's like honestly shocked when Irene says, just think of your little girl. She's like, what? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would I do that?
She's something. What does she say? Where's that part? Where is that? And I was like, damn, Claire, you are just like, do you have a heart?
I don't think she does. But then again, has she ever been shown love? I had to put on.
Well, there's that question. And there's that question. And did something to her break when her mother died?
Maybe her mother. We don't know anything about this mom. Maybe this mom is the only thing that was healthy.
I thought I highlighted that little sentence. Hang on a minute. Yeah, so many things we don't know about Claire and her upbringing before her mother passed and then post her mother's death. I don't know. It'll come to me. I'm looking. Yeah, anyway, Irene's just like, it's risky, and she's like, nonsense, bullocks, it's not. I shall carry on.
But like, she just doesn't care. I mean, Irene definitely understands her role as wife and mother, and she's like, mothers, we're responsible for the happiness and security of our children. And he will never forget if he finds out that you're Black. He will never forget that. She will never forget that. She'll never forgive you for the lie. This is huge. You cannot let the secret get out. And Claire's just kind of like, it's fine.
Right.
It'll be fine. Exactly. And then we find she gets completely distracted because Hugh Wentworth, who is modeled after some actual real white person, is on the telephone, and now she's dazzled with this Hugh Wentworth idea.
Yes, she's starstruck. Like, yeah.
So she wants to meet Hugh Wentworth, and she needs to go to this ball. Here I am. So it's now a fairy tale. She needs to go to this dance. She has to go to this dance.
Pushy. Mm-hmm.
And Claire and Irene keeps trying to explain, like, this isn't a good idea.
Right.
You should not go to this. Anybody could be at this dance.
Yeah.
Do you know? And she's like, it's in the year 1927 in the city of New York. and hundreds of white people of Hugh Wentworth's type came to affairs in Harlem more all the time. So many that Brian said pretty soon all the colored people won't be allowed in at all and will have to sit in Jim Crow sections.
Right.
That's how much white people are going up to Harlem and getting their entertainment from the black folks. And you think that you, Claire Kendry, who are passing as a white lady, can come to this thing and be safe? Like, that is Irene's like, you're insane. You're insane.
Right.
Claire Kendry, sit down. You are insane.
Right. Have all the seats, Claire. Have all the seats. And she's just like, she's adamant about it. She's like, basically, I'm going to go whether you like it or not. My $1 for this ticket is just as good as anybody else's dollar. Oh God, Claire. She's just like almost like a glutton for punishment. It's like maybe you want your house of cards to crumble.
I think that there's part of her that wants everything to come tumbling down. She's miserable.
Yeah.
Interesting choice of words.
Pretty much.
But yeah, no. But here we go. Claire Kendry was just a shade too good looking. So now we got like our first little description of it. This is the first moment that she starts talking about Claire again. She's reflecting back on the Drayton. And we haven't really gotten any descriptions of her until now.
Exactly.
And Irene tries to even like reason with Claire. She says, you've got to admit there's his side to the thing. You didn't tell him you were colored.
Right.
So he's got no way of knowing about this hankering of yours.
Exactly.
So like everything you're doing is like you've constructed this box for you to live in, and it's all of your own making, Claire. There's nothing like John can't help you. I can't help you. You can help you. That's about it. But if you do things, there's going to be repercussions, and they're going to be things that you might not ever come back from.
Right. Because you would have blindsided your family anyway. Blindsided your daughter, blindsided your husband, and you can't possibly think good will come out of that. You can't possibly be under that crazy delusion. Yeah.
There's no way that man we meet in part 1 is going to ever forgive you. In all likelihood, he'll probably kill you in a fit of rage. There is no way that daughter is going to forgive you because your daughter is now tainted. So I don't know what he's doing with that daughter. Is he disowning her? Is he keeping her and trying to lie? We don't know. That her whole fate is like a giant ass question mark.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Claire's is solid. She's probably just dead. Like
she's done. Yeah. She's a goner. Yeah. But the daughter.
And nobody would prosecute him. There's nobody who would prosecute him because he would be totally justified.
Not a one. But that daughter, I mean, that's just like the thought of that. Like, Claire, you haven't thought about what this could mean for her? Honestly. That's what's infuriating about Claire.
I think Claire thinks multiple steps ahead. Claire thinks immediate gain. And it sounds like she's lived every moment of her life as that.
As things come. Yeah. But yeah, that's true. But still, it's sad that it's like there's like no ounce of you where your mothering kicks in and you say, you know, wait a minute. This could have such a traumatic effect on my daughter. Perhaps I should walk a safer line.
Make some other decisions.
Yeah. Like the Wentworth party probably isn't a good idea. Let me walk a safer line. But no, she's got to go there. She's got to go.
No, she wants to go because she wants to meet Hugh Wentworth. She wants to be a part of the fun. She wants to be a part of the community. She wants. And when she wants,
always having Claire.
That having way.
Claire Kendry.
Oh. Gosh.
So here they are. Are we at the party yet? Are we at the party? We're at the party. Right?
We'll be at the party in the next chapter. She ends chapter 2 and she says, but Claire, she had remained almost what she had always been, an attractive, somewhat lonely child, selfish, willful, and disturbing. And I thought the word disturbing was a very interesting choice of words. Because is she disturbing because she's disturbed? Or is she disturbing because she's disruptive in manner?
Yeah, I have all three of those words underlined. And I agree with that word, and I do look at it as disturbing. As she's disturbing because she's so willingly dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
There's
But there's
there's
also
a
I
go ahead.
you go.
Oh no, she's she is making a decision to do things that are dangerous, and she has no problem with it. Like she is not shying away from dangerous decisions, dangerous situations. She wants what she wants, and she does not care about the
No, she does not
repercussions.
care.
You
But
know,
I also
and
think
that
there's a
is
piece of
disturbing.
her that but I also think there's a piece of her that is disturbed. So I think that there is a component of psychology here where she may be sociopathic because she
Oh,
literally has no ability. She doesn't seem to feel empathy for anybody else. She doesn't seem
true.
to understand how everything is going on around her. So is she does she have sociopathy?
Right. Just like how she couldn't understand why Irene would be so upset with that whole circus show with Mr. Bellew.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And
Interesting.
she set it all up because for some reason she thought it would all be a big joke.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that whole scene was disturbing. I mean, Claire was just so anxious to get that show on the road. You know, he's
Yeah, she's
about
like,
to
"Oh,
get
it's
here.
dinner tea. Let's get."
Yeah,
She's setting it
yeah.
up.
Like,
She was almost
get
like,
your
"Here's your
folks.
popcorn.
Yeah,
Here's your this. Let's go. Get your
exactly.
seats, tickets, please. Let's go."
Yeah, that goes beyond being a little selfish or a little willful. That's something else going on up here. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I think she's. I think she. I'm not a psychologist, but I think she may be a
Neither am I.
sociopath.
Oh.
But anyway, chapter 3, we go to the dance. We are at the dance. We've
Yes.
been inside almost the entire time we're in this book, except for when they're in the car, and it's still interior. We have been inside. We are in the meat of the story. We are inside our characters. We are inside our rooms. And we are doing stuff. But I think it's interesting that so they meet at her house, right? And Irene is not ready yet. So Claire and Brian are alone. So Brian and Claire have finally met.
Yes, they have.
Brian and Claire have finally met. And this is where Claire starts to be described again. Now Claire is her clothing is described, her person's described. Like, and you're right. Yeah. Like there is a jealousy and a keeping up with the Joneses kind of like back and forth to the two of them.
For sure.
Claire is the beauty and Irene never quite feels good enough
on par with
presence.
That. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this whole description, Claire, exquisite, golden, fragrant, flaunting in a stately gown of shining black taffeta, whose long, full skirt lay in graceful folds about her slim golden feet, her glistening hair drawn smoothly back into a small twist at the nape of her neck, her eyes sparkling like dark jewels. That's a hell of a description. And anytime you mention the nape of anybody's neck, that's sexy. I mean, this whole thing is just oozing with, sexiness and glamour and
yeah. And then she's like, she's worried. She goes, "What on earth would Brian think of deliberate courting of attention?" Because Brian must think like she thinks. Brian don't mind.
I was thinking something else. So I read that line. I'm like, oh, so here we go. Irene knows Claire's gorgeous and she's gonna capture the eye of your husband, but you don't really want to admit that to yourself. So you're gonna make it like Brian is above just the looks of a woman. That's how I
was thinking about that, like, because they are a little puritanical in comparison to Claire and her wildness. So I was seeing that in that like repressed kind of puritanical way where like, what would Brian think of all this showiness? Like
Brian is a man.
Brian's thinking with his man parts.
That's right. That's what I was like, oh, Irene, you're trying to make yourself feel less threatened in this moment. But
yeah,
good luck with that. Good luck with that. All right, so
Yeah.
they're downstairs.
They're
Claire and Brian
downstairs. There's
alone.
some weird discussion about like a Christmas tree, and
Right.
Brian's cracking jokes about how it's probably going to be just as exciting as the Christmas tree.
Right.
And it sounds like Brian's suddenly gotten a little bit more charming, though.
Yes. How convenient.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. How convenient.
But then they're at the dance, right?
Yes.
And she's got this very fragmented remembering of pieces of the dance and plus dance. I don't know why I said that like that. Suddenly I'm fancy.
Dance?
Dance.
We are fancy.
The dance. Let's go to the dance.
Dance.
We have fishes. But like she says that she kept catching glimpses of Claire in the whirling crowd dancing, sometimes with a white man, more often with a Negro, frequently with Brian.
Who underlined and highlighted that part? Me. Yes. I'm
Frequently
uncomfortable
with
and I
Brian.
don't like what I see here going on.
Irene was glad that he was being nice to Claire and glad that Claire was having the opportunity to discover that some colored men were superior to some white men.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Or you're ignoring the fact that your husband keeps dancing with a beautiful woman.
Exactly. Exactly.
If
Irene, you're
Jane
not fooling anyone.
Austen, if Jane Austen was reading this, she'd be like, "Ma'am, Miss Ma'am, someone's stealing your husband. Excuse me, you can't stand up with a man for that many dances in a row.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Unacceptable."
Oh,
But then
yeah.
she and Mr. Wentworth, Irene and Mr. Wentworth, get to chatting about the beautiful new lady that is Claire.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And they have this is where they have their discussion from the other perspective of like a white man's discussion. Look,
right.
Passing, because he's talking about his white wife's sort of obsession with dark men and
yes.
And going and flirting with the dark men and having. I get the sense that they have a very open marriage, is what I get for the two of them, because he doesn't seem to mind that she's twirling around the room with like a beautiful Ethiopian man. Like he's just kind of like she's enjoying it. I enjoy her enjoying things. Like I feel like they have an interesting marriage. I would like to see their book. What kind of kinky ass shit are they doing? I bet you it's interesting. They're doing something
probably
fun.
Right. You're probably right. Yeah.
They're having a good time.
Because if you're really threatened by it, you wouldn't keep going to these type of parties now, would you?
Oh no, he's loving it.
Oh
he's
yeah,
like, whatever. And he's not even like up dancing. He's asking about everybody. I feel like he's a voyeur.
He's a watcher. Yeah, he's a watcher.
He's a creepy looker. But he's wealthy, so it's fine. But they do say that the average colored man is a better dancer than the average white man. And that still holds true.
Today.
I would argue that like the below average black man probably dances better than the average white man.
For sure. That is so true. That is so true. That was spot on in this. Spot on.
It's like some things don't change.
They had a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Because he's trying to figure out if Claire is black or white.
Exactly.
He's like he knows there's something up with her. She's new on the scene. What is her deal?
Yep.
He doesn't know. It doesn't seem like he knows her. They're not running in the same circle. So he's like, who is she? What's going on?
Her first time out with you. This is the first mention of her. What's going on? What's her whole story?
Yeah. But he says, damned if I know. I'll be as sure as anything that I've learned the trick. And then the next minute I'll find I couldn't pick some of them if my life depended on it. So he knows that it's not as easy as you think. And Irene says, well, don't let that worry you. Nobody can, not by looking. Like, don't worry, dude.
And then she talked about her own experience with this Dorothy Tompkins and how it took her several, rounds to realize that she was Fae. I was like, oh, is that what they used to say back then? So that was interesting. He says, yes, I understand what you mean. Yet lots of people pass all the time. And Irene says, not on our side, Hugh. It's easy for a Negro to pass for white, But I don't think it would be so simple for a white person to pass for colored. Never thought of that. No, you wouldn't. Why would you?
Exactly. Why
Just
would you think that way? What advantage
right.
does it give you in life to pass as me?
Exactly. How does
You
that
idiot.
serve you? How does that
You
make your
idiot.
life better? Yeah.
Stupid man. Go back downtown and stop watching us like we're at the zoo. Stop it.
But yet,
It,
I liked how open their conversation was.
it's probably he's a really nice contrast to John Bellew, who is just
Oh, yeah. Trash.
but it does show you the different like views that were happening at the same time, because you did one of the things about the Harlem Renaissance that's really fascinating is how much the art scene grows within Black culture and in that one like bubble of the of America, and how much white culture sort of infiltrates into it to interact with it and to put focus on it. And I don't think you could have had Harlem Renaissance be what it was without that interaction from the outside, because it would still have been great, but it wouldn't have had as many eyes on it. So it probably would be something that like we're discovering now as opposed to discovering during while it was happening. And so you have that going on, but then you still have your John Bellews of the world that are walking around and they're like, there is no value to these people. They are just terrible, blah, 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 blah. And then there's the other side. And they probably behind closed doors aren't very different in their views.
Yet
but
different enough.
But one is accepting of like an existence and a contribution to the world and the validity of existence. And then the other one's just like, nope. I'm hateful.
Exactly. Throw them out with the bathwater. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I hate John Bellew so much.
God, he was an awful person.
But he is kind of perfect for Claire Kendry because she's also an awful person.
She is. She is.
Because if she had been white, she would be his perfect foil, I feel like.
Oh my God, yes.
I feel like the only reason they don't work is because she's not white.
That's it. That's it. I mean,
and it comes down to a construct that's human made. That's the only reason they wouldn't work.
Exactly. Exactly. Do you think Claire hates herself?
Yes.
Me too. Because I'm just thinking about. And I know that she married John Bellew very young. I understand that. But I mean, he really hates Black people.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's not full Black. She's half Black, but she's still Black. And it's like, you have got to hate yourself.
That's enough for John Bellew.
Level. Yeah. You got to hate yourself on some level to even be in partnership with this person. You just have to. He
was a way out, right? Like she just
takes
the opportunity and runs. So we don't know what her other opportunities were. Did she take the first one? Did she take the best one? Did she? What made her make that specific
first one?
Yeah,
that's kind of how it read to me, like it was the first one.
And it sounded like he was absolutely enthralled with her and could just run off and do all these things. And
I mean, she is a beauty, you know.
Yeah.
So, interesting. Yeah.
We just don't like. We don't like. They are perfect for each other, though.
In a lot of ways, they really are. In a lot of ways, they really, really are. Yeah. But
because they both like sound like conniving, just awful people. Anyway.
Yes, conniving is a good word.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good word.
They're conniving.
Yeah, for sure.
Conniving Claire Kendry. Then we hit. All right, so Faye is Faye. It's white people.
Faye, yeah. So okay, pretentious, snobbish. Faye or Faye refers to a white person. Okay. Yeah, I had to look things up in the back of this book. I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah, me too. It's okay.
Yeah,
I had to do that too.
It's interesting just hearing the words they used back then to describe certain people or whatever. So
Because we wouldn't know. Why would I know that?
Exactly.
I didn't. I know what 23 Skidoo is, and that's about it.
I don't even know what that is.
23 Skidoo is like, it's like cool.
Okay. Let's go with that.
I don't know what it means. 23 Skidoo.
Yeah, this part had some fun words. What did Brian call the son when she said you when he
Oh,
said
it means sorry. Hold on.
Okay,
wait. It's 23 Skidoo. I always thought it meant like something like cool or like that's great. It means it refers to leaving quickly, being forced to leave quickly by someone else, or taking advantage of a propitious opportunity to leave. So I guess if I just like run out the room, we're gonna 23 Skidoo. All right, sorry. That was really important that I get that right.
Thank
for
goodness
posterity.
that
I don't want
circulation.
I don't want to comment later from somebody in like 20 years that says you used 23 Skidoo wrong. So Twitter back down. Back down, Twitter.
All the way down.
Take all the seats.
All of them. We're just talking about a book. Okay.
23 Skidoo.
Where are we now? Mollycoddle. That was the word.
24? We're at 24. What's 24? 4?
Okay. 4. Got it.
Part 4. Chapter 4.
Got it. Okay.
But she seems to be like the dance began. And I have the dance began a new friendship with Claire. So we start this new relationship with Claire where they have something. She's coming over to Irene's house all the time. She comes over even when she's not there and hangs out with the children. She goes out with Brian to things when Claire can't make it. I'm like, Miss Ma'am, she's stealing your husband. How do you not know?
So disturbed. So disturbed. I wrote down,
I
the only one not liking this part?
I wrote down single white female, ? Playing black family, ?
Okay.
Because it's a game for her. I feel like she's playing a game. She gets to play at being Irene. She gets to come in there. She's going to mother the boys. She's going to go out with her black husband. She's going to act like this is her life.
She's chatting it up with the maids.
Single white female vibes out of this.
Yeah.
Or is it Fatal Attraction? I don't know. But it's got that like
combination of both. Yeah.
Eerie vibe where she's coming in and she's stealing your life. And
yes,
Brian has no issues. No issues.
Of course not.
Brian's
Claire. Of course not.
Oh, there was one thing from the end of the last chapter where Brian seemed a little bit annoyed that Irene wouldn't let him drive Claire back to her hotel. And he has Wentworth do it. And you're like, oh.
Yeah. So sad. He's like, I'm going to take you down first, and then I'm going to take Claire home. Oh, are you now?
And Irene's like, no. So she knows. She knows.
Oh, yeah.
But she's in denial.
Oh, yeah. She's in total denial. Yeah.
She's like, no, sir, you are not taking my beautiful friend that just showed up at our house to her hotel when her husband's in Florida. No, thank you.
Yeah. No. Let these lovely white people take her home. And bye-bye.
Take her back. Goodbye. Thank you.
Come on.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's like, oh, Brian, you really tried it, didn't you? Ugh.
Yeah. And somewhere it says, she describes it as Claire didn't annoy him, which made me ask, so does she annoy Brian?
Yes. Because she makes mentions of, he's annoyed with her. I was being late or I was doing this. Like, yes, she annoys Brian.
So she annoys Brian. And now suddenly here's this beautiful woman who's going to come in and act the part. And she doesn't annoy him.
Mm-hmm.
That's the woman that steals your man. That is the bitch that steals your man.
Boom.
You being all naggy because he's been over there being awful to you. And suddenly this new woman gets to come in there and she's not being naggy because you haven't been destroying her life for 20 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I might be a little bitter. Maybe a little bitter. Yeah, talk to me now, bitch. How do you like him now? Now you're dealing with his doesn't brush his teeth and all the other crap.
And all that crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have at it.
Still like what you get?
Yeah, I was like, oh no, why is this happening? Like, I all of a sudden got very uncomfortable, like, oh, it's too close for comfort.
She's not just like moving in on her man or like moving in on something. She is literally trying to take her life.
Absolutely.
Where she doesn't just like to have her cake and eat it too. She likes to eat other people's cake. She wants
There's
her
the line.
life.
Yes.
Wants to play at that life and see if it is what she's missing.
Right. And Irene, dumb, you know that. You know that.
Claire doesn't care what mess she leaves in her wake either.
Oh no.
Don't think that because you're friends, Claire could give two shits whether or not what happens when she's done doing this. Because she could decide if things don't go the way they went in part 3, it could have easily gone. She destroys your whole family. She goes, oh, that was fun. I don't really actually like this. I'm going to go back to my White Tower and live over there. And
exactly.
Peace.
Exactly. And let's say Claire really does have the yearning for, like, wanting to be with her own people. I think she'd be down with the idea of moving to Brazil. And now, wouldn't that just?
She probably would.
Fancy? Yeah.
Oh yeah, she'd probably find it exotic and different.
Yes, liberating. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she wouldn't have to lie anymore about who she is.
No, because the people.
There'd be no point. There'd be no need to.
Nobody
exactly.
Cares.
No one cares. Yeah. No one cares. And so what was frustrating me about Irene in these parts is like, who Claire is. You know all of her antics. Why are you not shutting this down? I was so mad with Irene. Like, why are you like?
I feel like she's dazzled. On? She's also dazzled by Claire. I feel like the fact that Claire wants to be her friend, as much as she says other things, and this isn't being told at the time. This is being told with in retrospect. She's talking about this story, and so she might see things a little differently now. But like at the time, she's dazzled by Claire. She's this beautiful woman who wants to be her friend.
Yeah.
I think she's dazzled by Claire. I think that it's hard for her to separate. Also, sometimes you just don't want to admit to yourself that your husband's a cheating asshole.
Well, that's true too. That's true too. Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that, so she is this like she's constantly being described as this dazzling, wonderful, magnetic lady. But then she's also said that she's boring when they have dinner, just the three of them.
Right.
She's friendly and flattering in public and uses this pathetic like thing so she gets sympathy, which is really interesting after waiting white tears. So she's already internalizing the white woman tears, right? So she appears pathetic when she wants sympathy, right?
Right.
She's aloof and mysterious, someone to wonder about, to admire and pity. That's what she wants. She wants you to admire her. She wants you to pity her for her own gains, because everything's transactional. It's what can she get? So she needs you to do something, and being flirtatious isn't going to get her there. Maybe her tears will.
Exactly.
Maybe her sad story will.
Exactly.
She's manipulative.
All the days long. All the days long. Yeah.
And sociopaths do have emotions, but they don't have emotions like you or I do. They learn how to mimic emotions. So she could be mimicking emotions to. I'm diagnosing Claire.
Yeah. Well, this is what we're going to do here. This is part of the game. Let's go. Yeah.
She's a sociopath. I think she's clearly a sociopath. Because she knows that if she does certain things, she gets certain outcomes. If she is flirtatious, she'll get this. If she cries, then she gets that. And so she just goes through life like a little game.
Yeah. And it truly is a game for her. It really is. I like the part where it says, beyond the aesthetic pleasure one got from watching her, she contributed little, sitting for the most part silent, an odd dreaming look in her hypnotic eyes. It's like, yes, you're very beautiful, but this is somewhat empty in here. You're like, you have nothing to contribute to the conversation.
She's boring at dinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't go, there's no depth to her. It's all surface level. Maybe that's why she doesn't have any friends and she's lonely.
Or maybe they all found out that she was just, manipulating, kind of a creature. Like who wants to really be friends with someone like that? It's stressful having that kind of friend. It's stressful. Like, what trick does Claire have up her sleeve today? She can't be trusted.
But I did note down a few things from this. I said I have Claire passes between her married life and her Black life so seamlessly that Irene stops worrying about John finding out. Irene stops worrying about John finding out. I wrote like red flag. So like that is a very scary moment. The only person who's actually paying attention to the consequences of Claire's actions has stopped paying attention to it.
Yes. Yes.
Because Claire's never paying attention. Irene is even got. Maybe she just wants her to find out because she hates her.
Partly.
We'll get to that in part 3.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna venture and say that that you and I probably highlighted one of the last very disturbing, scary conversations that Claire has with Irene.
Does it start why?
No.
Which one do you have?
It's almost to the end. Are we ready to go to the end? I don't want to jump ahead.
Oh, no, you can. The only other thing I have in here is just more of Claire being like, children aren't everything. And Irene being like, are you serious? Like,
oh, yes, I have that highlighted.
Are you serious? Like they have this huge disconnect on their children. And it's just like, Irene, how have you not figured this out yet? She does not give two shits about her daughter.
Right. She's like, there are other
her daughter
in the world. Like,
was ripped from her loins and she's just like, good. Right. Go forth. I care no more for you.
I did my part. Got married, check. Had a baby, check. Done.
I incubated you. You're good. Go away.
Yeah. Yeah. As we get to the end of chapter 4, part 2, this part was just so it made my stomach hurt a little bit because it's like, ooh, you are a very scary woman. Like we don't need to be friends at all. So where are we at? So they're talking about a little bit of parenting, and then it says, oh, but you have. It's just that I haven't any proper morals or sense of duty as you have that makes me act as I do. And then Irene says, now you're talking nonsense. But it's true, Renee. Can't you realize that I'm not like you a bit? Why? To get the things I want badly enough, I'd do anything, hurt anybody, throw anything away. Really, Renee, I'm not safe. Her voice
That's the part I highlighted.
Yes. Her voice, as well as the look on her face, had a beseeching earnestness that made Irene vaguely uncomfortable. That part just like, it chilled me. Just like, oh, this is
but I feel like I feel like it's a warning from Claire. I think Claire is warning Irene that she's not a good person. And she's fully aware that she is a bad person. And she is saying to Irene, don't trust me. I will destroy your life. I will do this. And I don't care. I will destroy anything in my way. And then she ends, and Irene's just like kind of ignores it. It's her having nature. Like it's just Claire. Like she kind of brushes it off. And Claire ends the chapter in tears. And this is where I write, Claire is breaking down and spiraling. Claire has lost control, and she knows she's lost control. Or she can feel control losing. And I feel like you get this ominous sense at the end of part 2 that something is brewing on the horizon that's not good. Yeah.
I wrote in the margin, an ignored confession. Because I felt like Claire was confessing, but like Irene was just like, well, whatever. It's just all Claire. Like, no. She's confessing something to you. Oh, this part was so cold. So cold.
Yeah. It's like there's a standoff between like the evil witch and like the good woman, and they're like, and the evil witch is like, I will break you.
Right.
And she's like, no, you can't hurt me. Like,
right.
And you're like, are you a dumb bitch? No, she's telling you. I've been actively attempting to steal your family and your life, and I am mentally unstable, and I'm going to crush you.
Right.
Claire Kendry.
Claire,
the original sociopath.
Fucking Kendry. Yeah.
We need to, Claire fucking Kendry. We need t-shirts.
We do.
Claire fucking Kendry.
We do.
Take
Part
all the
two
seats,
was
Claire
just
Kendrick.
part two was just so like, oh, just so good.
Yeah.
I mean, even better the second time around.
It's just such a good book. It really is. There's
Yeah.
so much to unpack in here. And you think like there's not that much in this tiny little thing, but there
know.
really is. And it's so just well constructed. I love the symmetry of the book. I love 3 pieces, 4
Yeah.
chapters. Done.
Yeah.
Like it's like a play. It's like a beautifully written play. You've got 3 acts,
Right.
4 scenes each. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. Done but not done, because there's still so much you're wondering about with various
Mhm.
people and these
Mhm.
scenarios. So you're still wondering, the story's done but not done. And
I cannot wait for this
that's
movie.
okay.
This movie's gonna be so good. Netflix.
When is
Netflix.
it coming? Because I keep seeing these posts from people that saw it like at the film festival, but I'm like, when is it coming to Netflix? We could do the watch
I
parties
know.
on Netflix, right?
Yes,
watch
we can do
parties?
watch parties on
Yeah.
Netflix.
We should definitely do
It doesn't
that.
look like initially it was released, but that was for all I can see is that they acquired it for
Yeah.
like $16 million, but not when
Production
they're
hasn't
gonna.
started yet?
No, it's a Sundance. No, it's already done.
We just need to.
It's
Yeah, we just need
done.
to.
They just need to put it out. It played at Sundance, and I guess
What are
it
they
got
waiting on?
it did well, and now it's I don't know. Who
If they've
freaking knows?
already acquired it, what are they waiting on? I wonder.
There is a trailer.
I'm not watching the trailer yet. I don't want to be I don't want to watch it.
Okay, fine. But the
You want to put it on the
trailer.
screen? You want to play it?
I was trying to see the trailer is from February. I thought I heard the door open. I was gonna be like, "Baby, we're
You
about
want
to
to
be
share it
on."
on the stream?
I mean, we can. I think we can. That's fine. It's a trailer, right?
Yeah.
Hold on. Copy. I guess. Oh, wait. No, I can just share it on my screen. I forgot that I can do that. It's weird because like I'm normally the one who controls the thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what is
There we go.
happening? I think I have to turn up my volume. So
Okay.
there will be.
Okay.
So it's
We're watching the trailer of Passing on our Twitch stream.
Is this actually the trailer then?
And that's the narrator of the book, not her, the other lady. Her.
I don't think that's the trailer. Hold on.
Oh, crap.
Is this it?
Passing was a remarkable period film about two Americans in 1920s.
We know it's remarkable. Is this it?
My name is Robin Cloud, and I'm a stand-up comedian and filmmaker. My family is big into family.
Nope.
Maybe it's not happening. Okay.
Nope, it's all some other passing thing.
Okay. All right. That's too bad. Well, hopefully soon.
Hopefully we'll be able to see it soon.
Yeah. For sure. We tried so hard. It's fine.
I think they would have a preview if it was already playing at Sundance. Like, come on.
Yeah. I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know.
I'm still really
digging
into this setup.
Your command station, what are you calling it? What are you calling it?
The Bookish Command Center.
The Bookish Command Center. You need to show people on the gram that.
I know. I have to put it out. I think I did do like a little boomerang of it when I first did it, but I'll have to do it more officially. Oh, my stomach is grumbling.
Yeah, well, we're at the end, guys.
Apparently, I'm hungry. Like a lot. I'm hungry a lot. Well, I had a cheese sandwich before I came up here.
Oh, okay. Well, you had something.
And a green juice.
How many pages is it? Okay.
We don't have many left.
Okay, so part 3 is very short. So that'll be our next.
So we'll only talk for 3 hours next week.
Yeah, just 3 hours,
Yeah. The question is, do we want to do it together since I'll actually be here?
I know. We can make that work.
So stay tuned for the announcement of when we're doing the next one, because we may or may not be together next weekend. So we may or may not be able to do this all in one.
All in one. We hope you've enjoyed this, because we were having a good time reading this book and talking about it.
We love it. It's so good. I just hope that the other books are as good, but you know what? Some of them are probably going to be duds and some of them are going to be amazing. So we just have to take the ride while we're on it.
That's it. That's it.
It's a roller coaster, this project.
I mean, we started off with a bang.
Yeah, we were really starting off on a high note. So
yeah,
we may have done ourselves a small disservice. We probably should have started with something horrible and then been like, oh my God, this amazing book.
Right. But hey, we're done now. We've got one more talk about it, and that's it. There's still time to join us in this. You can read this whole thing in a day and in 2 days in a weekend and be ready to discuss part 3. Yeah, part 3, but the final part next week. So,
or if you're in school and you don't want to read this and you want to spend 6 hours listening to 2 crazy old ladies talk about a book, just listen to this. We'll break down the book for you.
That's right. Because this is required reading for some people, right? In some classes. Absolutely. Depending on what your major is and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Just
we'll do the work for
these 2 old ladies, We've read it twice.
Yeah. So we know everything.
Yeah. All the things.
Damn Claire Kendry.
Claire fucking Kendry.
Mm-hmm.
God.
You are such a Claire.
You are such a Claire. I mean, anyway, I can't wait to talk about the final part.
Oh, me too. We have to discuss the ending. I can't wait to actually break that part down.
I know.
Because I have so many thoughts, and I feel like I'm gonna have even more after I read it for the second time. I'm gonna be like, oh my God.
Yes. So we definitely have to keep tabs on this Netflix movie so that we don't miss it, so that we can set up a watch party, because I really want to see it on the screen. I really want to see this.
So good. And it sounds like it got really good reviews at Sundance. So where is it?
Where is it? Maybe we can at Netflix. Oh, now my things are dying. Okay.
We need to charge. So we can at Netflix, and I will at Netflix and be like, bitch, where's my movie? And
where's the movie?
So we can do that. But we should end before your headphones start to die.
Thanks, Stereo people. Follow us if you're listening after the fact. Book Lady Reads, Nerdist Reads on Stereo on Instagram. Follow our book club at TBR Lowdown on Instagram. Follow the hashtag on Instagram, The Passing Reading Project.
Thank you guys so much. We actually really love doing this. And for anybody who actually sits through all of our insanity, we really appreciate you. So please charge.
Oh, you can hear it?
Yes, I think it's telling us that this is over.
Okay, and on that note, we're ending this now. Bye.
Bye.
So just sit with me, talking to the night until the morning, building chemistry. I don't think